Shalom World TV, EWTN, Shalom TV India, Sultan Light TV, at Madarshan TV. And to our radio listeners out there, a warm welcome to you as well. Some of you tuning in through Radio Maria in Papua New Guinea and Luminous Radio, and still others from other local radio stations picking up the broadcast. My name is Sister Bernadette, and I'll be providing the English texts and commentaries. We hear those in the background, welcoming our Holy Father to this Rybné Namestie Square, which is located in the heart of the old part of Bratislava, near the Cathedral of St. Martin, where our Holy Father was this morning. This is where the Neolog Synagogue stood, and it was demolished in 1969 by the Communists. Our Holy Father now meeting with the chairman of the Central Union of Jewish Religious Communities in the Slovak Republic, Richard Duda. We'll hear from him a little later. The Jewish community that frequented the synagogue that stood here was founded in 1871. People now taking their seats. Our Holy Father sitting now on the stage. This also serves as a Holocaust memorial, since the majority of the Jewish people in Bratislava perished during the Second World War in the Shoah.
Vaša Excelencia, Pápež František, drahý preživší holocaust.
We now hear from Richard Duda, chairman of the Central Union of Jewish Communities in Slovakia.
V strednej Európe, založenej na kresťansko-židovských tradíciách, existujú miesta zhmotňujúce symbiózu.
In Central Europe, which is founded on Judeo-Christian tradition, there are places that incarnate the symbiosis between Christians and Jews. In Bratislava and in all of Slovakia, there are many of these places. We are in a city where emperors and empresses were crowned in the cathedral, and where one of the most important personages from Judaism worked, Rabbi Shatam Sofer, known throughout the world. And we find ourselves exactly in an extraordinarily symbolic place. It is filled with historical memory. Here, the Christian and Jewish places of worship stood side by side. The inhabitants of this multi-ethnic city prayed here to the same God and experienced together moments of joy and concern that life brought them. The Jewish community almost vanished during the Second World War, and the synagogue fell victim to a barbaric intervention during the period in which communism was consolidated. Today, where the synagogue stood, there is a memorial dedicated to the victims of the crimes of the war, a memorial of the Holocaust. It is a moot bearer of the message to future generations that evil triumphs when bad persons rise to power and good people do not find the strength or the courage to resist evil. Slovakia is a country that has experienced both. The witnesses of courage and the willingness to risk one's own life are proof that the majority of Slovakians were good men and women. For the Jewish community in Slovakia, today is a turning point, a historic moment, because your steps as Pope have brought you to this place of remembrance of the thousands of lives lost among the members of our community. We greatly appreciate this gesture. The errors of the past must not be forgotten so as never to again be repeated. May this place, too, convey the message regarding collaboration between Christians and Jews. We have tried to intensify this in the last few years. We have organized many conferences, exhibitions, and conferences on topics that unite us. We are convinced that ongoing communication is the most important principle to guide the development of Jewish-Christian relations. Only through this can a stable and peaceful coexistence become a reality. We hope that the sincerity and willingness for open dialogue might allow us to finally put to rest the dark aspects of this coexistence that affected the relationships between those living in this land 80 years ago during the terrible conflict of the World War. Love of neighbor holds a central place in Christianity as well as in Judaism. If the commandment of love were to be translated into laws and institutions, it would be possible that society would become just. This is what we all want. Love eliminates boundaries. It eliminates reasons for tension. It overcomes conflicts. In Slovakia, we say, love moves mountains. With my beloved wife, we have been an indissoluble Jewish-Christian couple for 3 decades. Our relationship is a small universe built upon mutual esteem, respect, and understanding. I am convinced that harmonious family relationships are capable of assuring stability in society and throughout the entire world. In societies where religious or ethnic affiliation will only be opportunities for reciprocal enrichment and peaceful coexistence.
Dokážu zabezpečiť stabilitu v spoločnostiach všade na svete. V takých spoločnostiach, v ktorých náboženská či etnická príslušnosť bude len a len príležitosťou na vzájomné obohacovanie a mierové spolunažívanie. Ďakujem.
We just heard the greeting of the chairman of the Central Union of Jewish Religious Communities in the Slovak Republic. And we are now hearing a testimony from Professor Lang, a survivor of the Holocaust. Blessed are you who come, he began. It is an extraordinary honor for me to speak before you on the occasion of your precious visit to our country, to speak as a survivor of the Shoah, as a member of the generation that did not know their grandparents and cannot even remember their parents. They are among the 6 million dead. I am from the generation that survived, because there were valiant men and women who did not capitulate before evil, and risking their own lives hid us until we were liberated. I was born in May of 1941. Our family was shattered by the anti-Jewish laws. When I was 3 months old, my father's convoy headed in the direction of the Eastern Front. All trace of him ended there. Only 50 years later did I learn, by looking through archives, that he had died in Ukraine. Fate did not give me the opportunity of saying the Kaddish prayers for the dead over his tomb. My mom remained alone with me. In 1944, they deported her from Budapest on one of the convoys. Those who later returned recounted that she had died somewhere in Germany during the March of the Dead. When I got sick, they brought me to the hospital. The courageous nurses protected me by writing names of infectious diseases on the door of the ward, thus discouraging the armed men from entering. During a bombardment that even hit the hospital, about 15 children and one nurse survived.
Počas bombardovania, ktoré zastihlo aj nemocnicu, nás v kryte prežilo asi 15 detí a jedna sestrička. Je mi doživotne ľúto, že som sa jej nemohol neskoršie dopátrať.
I am forever sorry that I was never able later to track down this nurse who saved us and give her a decent thank you. In my case as well, it is true that someone who saves even a single human person is as if they saved the world.
Posledných 20 rokov sa venujem histórii holokaustu.
Through me and the grace of our marriage that has already lasted 55 years, that nurse gave me the possibility of having 2 children and 6 grandchildren. And for the past 20 years, I have dedicated myself to the history of the Shoah in southern Slovakia. I am writing a memoir for the future so that the past might never again be repeated. In the sad history of the Shoah in Slovakia, there is written in huge letters the name of the charge d'affaires in Slovakia at the time, Monsignor Giuseppe Burzio, who tirelessly sought to halt the anti-Semitism of the deadly regime of that time. No Slovak politician at the time so openly opposed the regime. At the same time, allow me to thank you for your generous work, for your personal contribution, and for the humanitarian spirit, fraternity, and tolerance you promote. May you personally and your work be blessed with good health and long life. The third testimony comes from an Ursuline sister. With great trepidation, I find myself here today in this symbolic place in the presence of members of the Christian faithful and the Jewish faithful, with whom we profess the love of the same God. We profess and love the same God. Our common story, our common history is marked by great suffering, but there are also moments that enkindle hope, that in every age there have been persons who deep within their hearts are filled with love toward God and neighbor. We are filled with sincere pride, but also gratitude for every Slovak who opened their doors and their hearts. All the more so because there were also the doors of our monasteries, boarding schools, and the doors of the houses or apartments of our students' families. We are grateful that our sisters, who understood the sacredness of every human being created in the image of God, had the grace to do something to save the lives of these people. The news has been conserved that the sisters were evacuated from Bratislava to a castle in Svatý Křtic, which was offered to them by Bishop Andrej Skrabik. There they cared for a group of children, among whom there were also Jewish children. This we know from someone who survived, Mr. Thomas Frankel, who lives in Vienna, and who gladly told us about this. Another testimony comes from Mrs. Gabriela Karin, an artist who lives in Los Angeles, and from Mrs. Erika Branikova, who lives in Bratislava. Both were students of the Ursuline Sisters College in downtown Bratislava. They were hidden there together with other Jewish girls. Their parents would come every day to visit them until they could find a hiding place for the entire family or until someone helped them escape from Bratislava. It is symbolic that today the Apostolic Nunciature is located in another place where the sisters hid other Jewish children together with their families. The already mentioned Mrs. Banzakova had brought a young mother, Edith Schwartz, there, together with her 1.5-year-old daughter and later her friend, Frida Haselnusova. The events I am recounting happened almost 80 years ago. Today, we are happy to note that there is a vibrant collaboration between Jews and Christians in Slovakia, not only among those in leadership in academic institutions, biblical scholars, but even among people in their daily lives. We are grateful above all for the educational projects directed toward young people through which those who teach in our schools try to sensitize the present generation to have a deeper awareness and appreciation of the Jewish cultural inheritance in Slovakia. At the same time, we hope to transmit a lively faith in God to our young people that will be manifested through love for neighbor in daily life. Our esteem, gratitude, and prayer go also to more than 500 Slovaks, both those who are known and those who are unknown, and to their families who contributed in various ways to the salvation of even one single person. We've now heard 3 different greeting and 2 testimonies here at Rybné Namestie Square. Our Holy Father will now speak to those gathered here in this place that is a memorial both of the Shoah and the synagogue that stood here until it was destroyed in 1969 under the communist regime. Dear brothers and sisters, good afternoon. I thank you for your kind words of welcome and for the testimonies you have offered. I have come as a pilgrim to visit this place and to be moved by it. This square where we are right now is highly meaningful for your community. It keeps alive the memory of a rich history for centuries. It was part of the Jewish quarter. Here the celebrated Rabbi Shatam Sofer labored. Here a synagogue stood alongside the Cathedral of the Coronation. The architectural setting, as we heard, was an expression of the peaceful coexistence of the two communities, an unusual and evocative symbol, and a striking sign of unity in the name of God, in the name of the God of our fathers. Here, like so many of them, I too feel the desire to remove my sandals, because I find myself in a place blessed by human fraternity in the name of the Most High. Later on, however, God's name was dishonored. In a frenzy of hatred during the Second World War, more than 100,000 Slovak Jews were killed. In an effort to eradicate every trace of the community, the synagogue was demolished. It is written, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain." The divine name, the Lord Himself, is blasphemed whenever the unique and distinctive dignity of the human person created in His image is violated. Here, in this place, the name of God was dishonored, for the worst form of blasphemy is to exploit it for our own purposes, refusing to respect and love others. Here, reflecting on the history of the Jewish people, marked by this tragic affront to the Most High, we admit with shame how often His ineffable name has been used for unspeakable acts of inhumanity. How many oppressors have said, "God is with us," yet it was they who were not with God. Dear brothers and sisters, your history is our history. Your sufferings are our sufferings. For some of you, this memorial of the Shoah is the only place where you can honor the memory of your loved ones. I join with you in this. The word Sekor, remember, is inscribed in Hebrew on this memorial. Memory cannot and must not give way to forgetfulness, for there will be no lasting dawn of fraternity unless we have first shared and dispelled the darkness of the night. For us too, the prophet's question echoes, "Watchman, what of the night?" Now is the time when the image of God, shining forth in humanity, must no longer be obscured. Let us help one another in this effort, for in our days too, so many empty and false idols still dishonor the name of the Most High, the idols of power and money that prevail over human dignity. A spirit of indifference that looks the other way, forms of manipulation that would exploit religion in the service of power, or else reduce it to irrelevance. But also forgetfulness of the past, ignorance, prepared to justify anything, anger and hatred. I repeat, let us unite in condemning all violence and every form of anti-Semitism, and in working to ensure that God's image, present in the humanity He created, will never be profaned. This square, dear brothers and sisters, is also a place where the light of hope shines forth. Each year, you come here during Hanukkah to light the first lamp on the menorah. Darkness is thus dispelled by the message that destruction and death do not have the last word, but rather renewal and life. Though the synagogue on this site was torn down, the community remains present, a community alive and open to dialogue. In this place, our histories meet once more. Here, let us affirm together before God our willingness to persevere on the path of rapprochement and friendship. And regarding this, I have vivid memories of my 2017 meeting in Rome with the representatives of the Jewish and Christian communities. I am pleased to say that afterwards, a commission for dialogue with the Catholic Church was established, and that together, several significant documents have been published. It is good to share and make known the things that unite us, and it is good to advance in truth and honesty along the fraternal path of a purification of memory, to heal past wounds, and to remember the good received and offered. According to the Talmud, whoever destroys a single individual destroys the whole world, while whoever saves a single individual saves the whole world. Every individual matters, and what you are doing through your important exchanges matters greatly. I thank you for the doors you have opened on both sides. Our world needs open doors. They are signs of blessing for humanity. God said to our father Abraham, "By you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed." This is a recurring theme throughout the lives of the patriarchs. To Jacob, Israel, God said, "Your descendants shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And by you and your descendants shall all the families of the earth be blessed." Here in this land of Slovakia, a land of encounter between east and west, north and south, may the family of the children of Israel continue to foster this vocation, the summons to be a sign of blessing for all the families of the earth. The blessing of the Most High may the blessing of the Most High be poured out upon us whenever He sees a family of brothers and sisters who respect and love each other and work together. May the Almighty bless you, so that amid all the discord that defiles our world, you may always be together, witnesses of peace.
Shalom.
Our Holy Father addressing the Jewish community here gathered at Rybné Namestie Square.
Excelencia, pápež František, dovoľte, aby som vás pozval zapáliť sviečky ako na pamiatku obeti Shoah.
The chairman has invited the Holy Father to light a candle in honor of the victims of the Shoah. Everyone has raised to their feet, and our Holy Father is now heading toward candles that have been prepared here in the square. There are 2 candles here we see, so one is now being lit by Pope Francis and one is being lit by the chairman of the Jewish community here, Richard Duda.
Bes Israel, Baagolov Vizman, Korif, V'Ivru, Omen. יש מרבו מורח לעולם ולעולמי עולמיו יבזבורך ישתבח יספואר ישרוימם יסנסה ישהדור ישהלה ישהלול שמי דקודשו.
The community is now reciting the prayer for the dead, the Kaddish, in Hebrew.
Nechemozo da miron bolmo imru omen. Yeshlomo rabo min shmayo chaim oleinu al kol Israel imru omen.
This prayer here recited by Professor Jorash Stern, a Holocaust survivor.
Shalom oleinu al kol Israel ve'imru omen.
El mole rachamim shoychein b'meroyamim hametzei menucha nechoyna על כנפי השכינה במעלויס קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות 6 מיליוני אחינו בני ישראל, אנשים, נשים, ילדים וילדות שנהרגו, שנשחטו, שנשרפו ושנטבחו ושנקברו חיים בידי הנאצים ועוזריהם יימח שמם באושוויץ, מיידנק, טרבלינקה, מאוטהאוזן ובשאר מחנות ההשמדה בארצות אירופה. ומסרו נפשם על קידוש השם בעבור שאנו מספללים, שאנו מספללים להילוי נשמותיהם, לכן בעל רחמים יסירם וססר כנפיו ליובלמים ויצרו בצרור החיים נשמותיהם בגן עדן, בגן עדן, בגן עדן בנוחסם אדוני ונחלוסו וינוחו ושלום על משכבם ונאמר אמן.
The hymn we've heard chanted is the prayer that is prayed during funeral ceremonies and when Jewish people visit their dead at their tombs. We also heard the names of the various concentration camps mentioned. We pause here too in silence, uniting ourselves with the pain of this Jewish community. Of the 15,000 Jews who lived here in Bratislava, only about 3,500 survived the Holocaust. About 105,000 Jews from Slovakia perished in the Holocaust. The roots of the Jewish community here go back to the early 1200s. Now our Holy Father presenting his gift. It's a depiction of St. Peter the statue that is on the facade of St. Peter's Basilica. It's a ceramic of the famous type of ceramic made in Sicily. Our Holy Father now also giving a rosary to the wife of the chairman of the Jewish Union here, whom we heard during his discourse is Christian. Our Holy Father now greeting other members of the Jewish community here as well. Our Holy Father, we may remember, paid another visit to a Holocaust memorial site. In July of 2016, he paid an emotional visit to the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial and Museum, the site of the Nazi concentration and extermination camp, where more than 1.1 million people, mostly Jews, were put to death in Poland. He wanted that trip to be one made in silence. He had said prior that I would like to go to that place of horror without speeches, without crowds, alone to enter and pray. And he also said, may the Lord give me the grace to cry. And I think at this point we can all, having heard these testimonies and seeing this community here, some of whom are descendants of Bratislava's Jewish population, but also survivors. Here we see the professor who provided the first testimony and the Ursuline sister providing the testimony of what the women religious did to save members of the Jewish community at the risk of their own lives. Holy Father greeting the professor now who provided the first testimony. And we now end this live broadcast where we've been coming to you from Rybné Namestie Square in Bratislava, where Holy Father Pope Francis has just concluded his meeting with the Jewish community here on his second day of his 34th apostolic journey to Budapest and Slovakia. Pope Francis will now head back to the Apostolic Nunciature, where he will receive the President of the National Council of the Slovak Republic, Mr. Boris Kolar, followed by the Prime Minister, Mr. Edward Heger. And we will be back to continue our coverage of our Holy Father's apostolic journey tomorrow, Tuesday. The first televised event begins at 10 o'clock Central European Time. Pope Francis will preside over the Byzantine Divine Liturgy in Prešov on the Feast of the Exaltation of the Holy Cross. We'll be back with you then. We hope you can join us. But we do invite you also to visit the Vatican News web portal, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube accounts. You'll find complete coverage of our Holy Father's apostolic visit, as well as other Vatican and world news. Special thanks go to Alessandro De Carolis, who's been coordinating all of us, as well as our audio technician, Adriano Vitali, as well as others who've made this broadcast possible. But thank you to all of you, too, for joining us. Laudetur Jesus Christus. Praised be Jesus Christ.